The Parent Agency 20th Anniversary Edition with bonus material. Pick Your Perfect Mom and Dad, David Battle. Illustrated by Jim Field. Welcome to another video, and today I'll be reading The Parent Agency. So without further ado, let's get started. Introduction. One day about 10 years ago, my son Ezra, then 8 years old, asked me a question about another author's children's book, which was, Dad, why didn't Harry Potter run away from the Dursleys and go find some better parents? And it gave me an idea, which was that somewhere there might be a world in which children can choose their own parents. So I wrote about that world and created the Parent Agency. At the time, I didn't think it would be necessary to have any more ideas for children's books, but as it turned out, I did. And so I wrote quite a few more. Some of these ideas have also been inspired by Ezra, and to be honest, it's good that he's my son. Otherwise, I would have owed him a lot of royalties. I hope you like this new edition. I got some new chapters in it, which I based on some scenes from the musical of the Parent Agency, which I am writing with a brilliant composer called Dan Giswell-Sales. So, anything you read in the new chapter that sounds a bit like lyrics or are indeed lyrics from that show, which should be on stage sometime next year. I'm very happy I wrote the Parent Agency. Children all over the world have written to me over the years to tell me how much they like it. None of them, to my knowledge, have ever actually gone into a world where they can choose their own parents. But whether parents like it or not, it seems that children love the idea. I mean, let's face it, the original thought came from my son, so really I'm the one who should be worried. And I'm not. Enjoy. David Battle, November 2023. Sunday, Chapter 1. Barry Bennett was always very upset at being called Barry. It was a stupid name for a modern nearly 10-year-old boy. All his friends were called things like Jig, Lucas, Taj. In fact, they weren't called things like that. They were called exactly that. Jake was his best friend, Lucas was his second best, and Taj was his third. Although sometimes the order was reversed and Taj was first, but either way, none of them called anything like Barry. Barry didn't even know anyone called anything like Barry. He didn't know, for example, anyone called Brian or Colin or Derek or any other name that no boy had been called since 1953. Being called Barry was just one, although it was pretty near the top of the list of the many things Barry blamed his parents for. Susan and Jill, go figure. 4. Here, in fact, is that list, which Barry kept hidden under the pillow on his bed. A bed that didn't, by the way, have the fantastic Lionel Messi duvet on it. Lucas had. Things I blame my parents for. Being boring. Number 2, calling me Barry. You see, I told you it was near the top of the list. Number 3, being tired all the time, not letting me play video games, not buying me any video games, or a Lionel Messi duvet. Being really, really, really strict. Examples. Making me go to bed at 8:30 when all my friends stay up much later. Not letting me eat any sour Haribo's in case they give me a tummy ache. And saying that to swear when all I do is say a bomb, which isn't even a proper swear. Being always much nicer to my TSC than to me, just because they're a pair of goody two-shoes. Not being glamorous or famous or all the things that the grown-ups in Mom's magazines are. But I realized that he'd written this that was a bit similar to number 1, but he'd already started the list when he got to this point and had written in pen, not pencil. So, want to cross it out and start again. Being poor. Barry felt a bit bad about writing this one, as he did sort of know it wasn't his parents' fault. His dad worked in IKEA, checking the flat pack stuff into the warehouse or something. And his mum was a primary school teacher, so he knew that meant he didn't earn very much. But he did think that if only they had more money, then a fair amount of issues, number 1 to number 8, although not being called Barry, would probably apply. Not ever making my birthday feel good. It was the biggest thing. All his friends had their 10th birthday recently, and all of them had been fantastic. Jake had a go-kart party. Lucas had a bowling party. Taj had a limo. They'd all gone to the cinema to see the latest James Bond film. Barry loved James Bond. It was partly why he hated being called Barry, as he knew that James Bond would never have been called that. I mean, he knew James Bond's name was James, but even if it hadn't been, it would probably have been John or David or Michael, or, as Jake often pointed out, Jake. Barry said this wasn't true, although in his heart he knew it kind of was. Well, with Jake being in name terms really quite like James. Sometimes Jake would even raise one eyebrow, which Barry, tried as he might, couldn't do both of them. Always went up at the same and say, "The name's Bond. Jake Bond." Barry agreed without saying so it sounded kind of okay, certainly better than "The name's Bond. Barry Bond." Jake and his eyebrow were at Barry's house on that Sunday, 6 days before his birthday, when Barry got really cross with his mom and dad. All 3 of Barry's best friends were on the doorstep listening to Geoff Bennett say, "No, sorry," which Barry thought, and not for the first time, was something his dad said a lot. Jake was holding a Nike Premier League football. Lucas had one pair of black Converse trainers, and Taj was wearing a brand new, this season, Chelsea top, which made Barry feel in his discount store jeans and discount store top and discount store shoes a bit rubbish. Although not rubbish enough to stop him wanting to go out and play with them. "Dad," said Barry, "it's only for half an hour." "No, sorry," said his dad again. "You know, we don't let you go in the park without a grown-up." Barry looked back at his dad's frowning face. He looked very tired, although Barry couldn't work out how tired, as Geoff Bennett always looked tired these days. There were bits of grey hair in his hair. In fact, it would be more accurate to say there were bits of black in his hair, because most of it was now grey. He was wearing his navy IKEA shirt, which he didn't have to at the weekends. Barry wished he wouldn't, especially in front of his friends. Every time he'd seen them, Jake's dad had been wearing a smart suit, Taj a leather jacket, and Lucas's dad, who some of the time played in a band, skinny jeans and sunglasses. Even Barry noticed when it wasn't sunny. "But," said Barry, indicating with his hand and the 3 boys on the doorstep, "all my friends are allowed to." "Well, that's up to their moms and dads, I'm afraid." Barry turned and looked at his friends, at which point Jake raised one eyebrow, which gave his face an expression that seemed to say clearly, "Oh, Barry, such a shame that you're lumber." With these silly, strict, and tied bad clothes wearing parents, he didn't say this though, he just said, "Sorry, Barry," and turned around, bouncing the ball as he went. "Yeah, sorry, Barry," said Taj, joining Jake. "Me too, sorry," said Lucas, who for some reason waited until he got to the end of Bennett's front path before turning around again and saying, "Barry." And even though Barry knew that it was good to feel sorry for some people, like starving children on the sad bits of the news, he found that he really, really didn't like that his friends were feeling sorry for him. This is the end of our first chapter, chapter 1. And if you would like to read more of the Parent Agency, remember to like and subscribe. Bye.